Hello everybody and welcome back to another impressions video, this time for the beta of Halo Infinite with myself, MarcTheCyborg, Uche Nwaneri down at the bottom there, and to this side, I got the side right this time, Cool Guy Fonz, who's the co-host of my podcast, Git Gud Scrub. And Fonz, why don't you introduce yourself because you're probably new to this audience.
I'm the scrub on Mark's podcast, the Git Gud Scrub Podcast. Pretty cool guy, I think, but we're about to find out.
All right, right on. And Fonz was probably over at my house the day we played the original Halo when I got my Xbox, because he's been my friend since high school. So we played Halo Infinite together over the weekend, and Uche and I didn't get a chance to play together, but both he and I played the previous weekend as well. So just a quick rundown of what exactly was going on. 343, who's the company who makes Halo these days, it's no longer being made by Bungie, is doing these things called flights, which are kind of like mini betas. They're done in a pretty interesting way though, where there's only a couple hours worth of matchmaking time per day, usually in 2 different sessions. So it would be 4 hours for Eastern time between 1 to 5, and then it was another 4 hours between 8 and midnight. And what's interesting about that is they can do things like fix the server support in the meantime and tighten up the performance of the games and react in real time to people's feedback. So the first weekend, Uche and I got to play Team Slayer and a bunch of other little 4v4 modes on, was it 3 different maps? Do you happen to remember?
They had, 3 maps. They had the underground map, they had the plot, like the kind of market map, and then they had the kind of the
warehouse
miniature sorta? Blood Gulch looking kind of map. Maybe not Blood Gulch, more like it's hard to explain without knowing the actual name.
I think that was more the one that they had for the big team battle part, right? The sort of
the big
large
team battle
scale.
was Blood Gulch. I'm talking about they had the third map was like a kind of like, it felt like a little small installation, little small military installation map.
Oh, the one with the firing ranges and stuff.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, that one was pretty cool too. So I guess initial impressions. I guess we'll start with Fonz, our new member to the podcast impressions scene here. Did you enjoy it, or what were your overall impressions?
Honestly, like, this was a way back playback for me to get back into like the Halo franchise, because 4 and 5 were pretty lackluster. Well, 5 we don't even want to talk about. So it was good to be back in like that franchise, and I feel like if it's living up to expectations so far, right? Like it was cool to play. I think the big team battle map was Valhalla, which is just the Halo 3 map. Like, it's based on the Halo 3 map, so it was just like playing Halo 3 again, and it was awesome. Yeah. What'd you think?
Man, like I kind of veered away. I'll never say that I gave up on Halo, but I veered away from Halo and towards Gears of War, and right around 2004, 2005, after Halo 3 came out, I kind of, that was kind of like my full circle at that point. But Halo multiplayer is where multiplayer began for me as a gamer. That was the beginning of multiplayer, the multiplayer life that for me. So there's a certain level of reverence that I have for Halo, because that was my freshman year in college, and me as a freshman at Purdue, we were in a freshman dorm, all my freshman teammates, like, we literally had LAN parties, and we would play Halo all night long, the entire freshman dorm, and you hear guys screaming and running up and down the hallways screaming.
Yeah, that's pretty similar to me and Mark.
At military bases.
And that's an experience that is like none other that you ever have experienced in video games. So I had a certain level of, like, I wouldn't say expectation, but I had a certain level of hope. Like, come on, please let this like be legit, because like this is the game for the Series X. This is gonna be the system seller, for this generation for Microsoft, and they got to get it right. And I got to say, my first impressions, it felt like I was playing Halo. If the kind of excitement I had, it felt like I was playing Halo my freshman year in college again, but it was modernized without taking away from that feel, which I thought was paramount to
I feel like
good.
the core was there, right? Like what we all remembered from Halo was still there, just there were obviously new additions added to it, right? Like to make it more modernized.
I think they did a really good job of not over modernizing it too. Like that was one of the things that a lot of people had complaints about for both Halo 4 and 5, were things like adding intrinsic sprint. So, I mean, Reach, you could sprint, but sprint was an item that you had to pick up and sacrifice something like armor lock or a jetpack in order to use it. But in Halo 4, you could just sprint whenever, and the sprint was really fast. In Halo 5, you could mantle on ledges and things like that and sprint really fast. So it sort of started playing a bit more, not exactly like Call of Duty, but much less well suited to the high time to kill that the Halo games have for multiplayer. Whereas this seemed to have, like, the sprint didn't seem like it was very fast. I found that there wasn't a lot of situations where if I was in a firefight, running away was ever really a good idea unless it was a really long range deal. Like if the enemy was anywhere near me and I started getting hit, I had to turn and fight, and that to me is what separates Halo from something like Call of Duty. Because Call of Duty, it's like, oh, there's a guy there, I gotta just keep running, and then Titanfall, you've got, okay, I can run and then wall run up these things and double jump and then use a grappling hook. Like even the grappling hook in this game feels amazing, but it's also, because it's expendable,
it's very limited.
You can't rely on it all the time. But yeah, so I think overall our impressions were pretty positive. I think all three of us were playing on PC. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Yeah, I was playing on PC.
So no one, I'm kicking myself because I probably could have tried out the Xbox version. I just didn't really even think to do it, and mostly because it didn't really occur to me, hey, I'll be making a video on this week. But yeah, so I don't really know how the difference is between PC performance and Xbox performance. I found I was having a lot of issues running at a frame rate above 60 frames a second, because it would start screen tearing. Like I would be getting lines across my screen if I'd turn while running at, say, 120 FPS, and G-Sync wasn't working properly, which is like the hardware-based vertical synchronization. So I would have to put the in-game V-Sync on, and that would cap me at 60. When I did cap at 60, though, it ran pretty smooth. It was a pretty consistent 60. It's a bit of a shame, like playing on a high-end PC, that I can't get that 144 FPS or 120 FPS perfect. So I think they've got a bit more optimization to do on the PC end. Uche, how about you? Is your system, were you having any luck with frame rates above 60, or did you cap it also?
I initially was having some problems in my initial run because I'm on Windows 11. I was having big problems initially with frame rate, with stuttering, with clipping, or with screen tearing, with frame rates with frame rates locking up. Basically, I was getting a lot of freezes. It would run smooth, but whenever I turn a corner, anywhere where there's going to be some rendering going on immediately, like open spaces, stuff like that, combat, I would get freezes, and I didn't know what was the issue. There weren't any new drivers to run with, so I kind of got frustrated. But luckily that night there was a huge update for Windows 11, and the very next morning I got on as soon as the servers came up, and it was like butter, and I didn't have any framing issues after that. I didn't have any freezes. It ran pretty smooth. Now, I will say one thing that I did not anticipate being as rough around the edges as it was keyboard and mouse. Keyboard and mouse was very rough around the edges for some reason for me on Halo. So I went to the controller. For some reason, I don't know why. For some reason, Halo just seems to play better with a controller for me.
Might just be the muscle memory. I'll say this much: driving a Warthog is a hell of a lot better with the controller.
You can't drive with a keyboard and mouse.
I hot swap. I pick my controller up when I'm driving a vehicle and then switch back to my keyboard and mouse when I'm shooting. But no, I thought that
I tried to go through it, and it was something weird, man. It was like the aiming was very. It was weird for me for some reason on keyboard, and I never had that issue with other games.
That's strange. I got a pretty decent feel for it, but I just loved what you said a minute ago there about there being a Windows 11 update, because I just got this picture in my head of a guy from like the Xbox team goes downstairs to the Windows 11 guys. He's like, guys, trying to make a first impression here. Like, fix it. What are you doing to us?
I tweeted out to Microsoft and to Halo. I'm like, yo, something is going on. Why is my 3070 not running this game smooth?
Guy kicks the door down. He's like, Windows team, I just got a tweet from Uche Nwaneri. You're fucking up. We're trying to have a beta over here.
I was like, I'm being patient. That's what I said. I said, I'm being patient. Figure it out.
Yeah, I don't know. Like, I was on Windows 10, but that might have been an issue for me too. I'm not sure if I did an update, but I definitely had a much better time the second night than the first night, because I fiddled around with the settings a bit more and kind of gave up going for 120 FPS. Fonz, what about you? What was your performance like?
Yeah, like I was playing on a 2080 Ti, and I had the VSync on, and I noticed that it didn't even stay at 60. Like a lot, when you're in like some huge battles, it'll drop to 55, 50 frames per second. Mm-hmm. It is
not
what it
unplayable,
is.
but it's a bit stuttery when that happens.
Yeah.
So I've heard some good things about the Xbox performance. It might just be that they've smoothed that out a bit more. But sorry, continue.
Yeah, like that's what I was gonna say. I've heard it was optimized for the Xbox, like actual console.
Oh, you know it is.
And they got 8 weeks still before launch, so like that seems like something little that they can fix, because I've never played a game that didn't have full screen. It only had windowed, and what was the other option?
There's no exclusive full screen mode yet.
Yeah,
it's just borderless windowed.
I'm sure there's gonna be like those little things they'll fix in the meantime, right? Like in the next 8 weeks.
Actually, I mean that might have been my issue with screen tearing too, because while borderless window is a lot easier to multitask and stream with, exclusive full screen tends to run better overall in most games. And yeah, I guess so what would a first-person shooter be without weapons? And I was actually super impressed with some of the choices that they made with weapons in this game. But I'll go last. Why don't we start with Fonz this time?
Honestly, like your starting weapons were pretty awesome. Like the assault rifle, I feel like they brought it back to an area where you can actually use it, right? Like if you spawn and you're automatically in a battle, you actually have a chance to win with the assault rifle, the MA40, because in past games, like if you had an assault rifle, you were dead in the water. Like it did no damage whatsoever.
Couldn't take down shields.
Yeah, so like now, like I was doing pretty well with the assault rifle, and then picking people off with the pistol, which isn't the traditional Magnum, but it was a sidekick. It was pretty good.
It's actually the nickname for it.
Yeah.
Uche, what about you? You got any favorite weapons you hated?
I tell you what, I liked the let me see, what was that? That was what was the battle? Not the battle rifle, but there was another battle rifle.
The VK-47 Commando, the fully automatic.
Yeah, that one was
rifle.
my favorite. That one was my favorite. The pistol made a comeback. The pistol is dangerous in this game this time.
I feel like
it's more dangerous than it's been.
Yeah, it's more precise now, but it didn't do as much damage. But at least you can get better headshots with it.
Yeah, it's a good one to switch to once you've broken shields.
Once you break their shield, you can dead them quick with a pistol. I thought the skewer was a pretty nice weapon. That thing, I mean, that's a one shot knockout. But
the anti-armor effect of the skewer made me appreciate a lot. The second you kill a warthog with a skewer, you can't not smile. If you don't smile after blowing up a warthog with the skewer, you have no soul.
No, those were weapons that I found myself using. I also used I used the shotgun, the bulldog. I think it's the bulldog shotgun.
Yeah.
Or no, the semi-automatic shotgun. That one was a favorite for me for close range battles.
Oh, really?
That's a two shot, sometimes 3-shot killer. But that one, the skewer, and the MK50 were my. Or the battle. I'm sorry. What was it? The VK-47 Commando.
VK-47. Yeah. I noticed with the shotgun, for once in past Halo games, that you have to be up close to do damage with it. You could do some damage with it mid-range though, and that was pretty cool with the shotgun. It was like, it wasn't just up close and personal.
I've always been a fan of the Halo shotgun, so I really didn't like the Bulldog, mostly because I found that when I did get up close with it, it was still like a 3-shot kill,
Yeah.
which would have been okay, but I found that the rate of fire didn't compensate for that quite enough. Like, I thought that you can compare the Commando to the DMR, like from Reach or Halo 4. I didn't play much 5, so I'm not using 5 as an example. It fired slower than the Commando did, but did a lot more damage. So I could see balancing out the DMR, which basically became the Commando, to do a lot less damage. They compensated it by being like, yeah, but not only is the rate of fire a lot faster, you can also just hold down the trigger and fire it full auto. So I was like, that's a really good trade-off, because now it's like you've basically created a whole new class of weapon, and by giving it a different name, they could always like add DLC, just be like, oh yeah, now the DMR is back, or there's a DMR Forge mode or something, and have that really precise and powerful single-shot rifle. I really like the new, I guess you could say it's a Covenant sniper, or maybe it was a Forerunner, not sniper rifle, sorry, shotgun thing, that was kind of like the line gun from Dead Space. I found that I could do pretty well with, because it didn't really have much damage drop off even from far away. And other than that, though, it seemed there were a couple that I don't know if I really got a feel for them. Like, did you guys ever try that one where it's like a charge up and it's a red projectile that kind of napalms a little area, like sets the ground on fire?
Yeah, that one. Yeah, it's like that energy blast that kind of sets everything on fire.
I think it's called the Ravager or the Mangler.
Did either of you guys get good with that thing?
No.
I only got to use it a few times. I didn't really get a chance to really become proficient with it. So
yeah, I guess it seemed to me that I that felt like a weapon that could be really good. I just felt like I wasn't using it correctly. It seemed like it could be good for territory control if you're doing like a point capture thing, but I don't know. Maybe they just needed to make it a bit more powerful, but it might have also just been that I didn't understand how to properly use it. A
few things. I noticed that the sniper rifle had no changes to it. Regular sniper rifle, which was good.
Yeah, it was pretty much the same.
And the rocket launcher was the same, which is good. Like, if it's not broke, don't fix it.
Yeah.
But they took out the EMP out of the plasma pistol, so it doesn't EMP warthogs anymore. I noticed.
Yeah, it
doesn't do EMP anymore.
Yeah,
I think I got run over by a ghost when I found that happen. I was like, but you're supposed to stop when I do that.
Yeah, no, they did not care at all. And did any of you ever see a sword in it? Because I never saw anyone play with a sword.
No, only the gravity hammer.
Yeah. So I hope it does make an appearance at some point, because it's the sword.
Gravity hammer was on point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That thing is fun.
I got my first killing spree with it.
Yeah, I mean, dude, I dropped down on a warthog during the Total Control. I dropped down on a warthog with it. Like, I jumped off a cliff, and I wasn't I wasn't doing it to attack a warthog. I just was jumping off a cliff, and a warthog was coming from down the way, and it was timing up perfect. And I just hammered it. The whole warthog just went flying. I think I got like a 4-man kill on that.
Yeah, I think that that it's a bit of a shame that Halo hasn't been around with Battlefield and Call of Duty for the last 10 years in a lot of ways. Like Halo, it's probably been since Halo Reach that Halo was on top of the pack. I think that a lot of games have really settled into very fast time to kill and kind of not gimmicky, I want to say, because I don't want to sound like I'm hating on Call of Duty and Battlefield, but in Battlefield, when you blow up a tank, it kind of blows up and then just stays there. It doesn't roll across the map and bounce off walls and then kill other things. So Halo's always just had this feeling of tactility to its physics that I think I've really been missing, and this was the first one I played probably since 4, because I played a fair amount of Halo 4, that I've really kind of gotten into. And granted, it was only 2 weekends and limited playtime in those weekends, but I was really, really enjoying what I played so far. I guess next we'll talk about the level designs. Did you guys have a favorite map? I guess, Fonz, you only played the one because you were only around the second weekend.
Yeah, I just played the Valhalla, which was pretty good. Like you mentioned, it is like the Blood Gulch of Halo 3. and it's fun. It's big enough that like you can do different types of battles, right? Long distance, short range, and vehicles. So I feel like I got a good feel for the sandbox.
Yeah, Uche, how about you?
Yeah, I think that Valhalla was the best overall map. Like I said, I really liked. I didn't like the market map so much. I didn't really like that
really?
one.
I like that one.
You know, maybe because it was like I thought it was going to be a little bit different than it was. When I got into playing it, it just kind of felt like things were too fractured and kind of split around with the design. But you know, I could see how, you know, it's really a long distance shooting map. Like you're shooting from, you need mid range or long range weapons on that map. But Valhalla, I thought was the best. I thought that one was the best. I think that the other one. What's the other one? There's another.
I think you're talking about Behemoth. That's the one that
Behemoth. Yeah, Behemoth, the huge one, right?
Yeah.
Oh, the huge one that was on the first
Valhalla
weekend.
is like slightly smaller.
Yeah.
Those were the two best maps to me. Those ones were awesome.
Those were the only two with vehicles, I believe.
Yeah. Those maps were the best ones to me. Those were. I had the most fun on those.
Which was the one from the first weekend that was the larger one?
I think that one was.
Or Fonz, which one did you play on?
I played on Fragmentation, which is Valhalla. So the other one is Behemoth.
Okay.
But Behemoth was the one that was on the week before too.
Yeah, and that was the one that I played one capture the flag game on there, and that was actually the only time I was in that map. For the most, I might have had a Slayer game in there, but for the most part, I tended to end up in Market and the warehouse and the one that was like a shooting range quite a lot. Actually, I like all three of those maps, though. I think that they had, even Market, I guess I'll defend Market, that it, I thought that it did a pretty decent job of the main Market area had the long sight lines, and that really did seem like a long range encounter thing. But because of those shops in the middle, if you wanted to cross that market, you didn't necessarily have to engage with people that were waiting up top in the balcony shooting. You could kind of slide under there and then move to the side and then run past them and try to get around if you were doing like capture the flag for it there. And there were a lot of narrow corridors around the edges, so I found that I was even getting a fair amount of close range kills on Market. But
I just want to be clear, you guys are talking about like the Mombasa map from Halo 2,
yeah,
right?
New Mombasa type.
Yeah.
It looks like New Mombasa from Halo 2. I guess I don't technically know that that's where it was, but it really did. It looks like very similar art direction to what is what I still think is probably the best Halo 2 level, or at least my favorite. All right, so I guess overall, I think it's pretty safe to say our opinions on the game are positive so far.
Yo, before we move on, have you guys did you guys use the grappling hook to board an enemy vehicle?
No, I didn't.
Have you seen any of the videos of it happening?
Yeah,
because it is unreal.
Halo Infinite Twitter is wild.
Like if you can pull that off on a Ghost, it's epic at this point.
Oh, on a Banshee, you mean? Like
that's it, yeah, like on a Banshee.
Yeah.
So, and I feel like it's bringing a new aspect of it, like the more tactical aspect of this game, right? Because now you have the camo, you have the one-way shield, which I didn't even know was one way till like halfway through the game. Like I kept running through it to shoot, and I obviously defeated the whole purpose of a one-way shield. But like I feel like it's a much more tactical game, and like these little intricacies is what makes it that way, right?
Yeah. I did learn the hard way that you cannot use the grappling hook while you're holding the flag. I dropped into a flag site that was kind of a hot drop, and I was thinking I'm gonna grab this and I'm gonna grapple away like I'm Batman. and I picked it up, I hit grapple, and then I just kept on running with my flag, and I'm like, oh no. And then instantly died.
Yeah.
I was like,
Alfred!
Your tech sucks, Alfred. Let's outsource to LexCorp next time. But yeah, no. So I guess it's pretty safe to say though that all three of us are pretty positive on what we've played so far. So I guess we should go on something that we could not really get too much of a feel for in the beta. But what do you guys think about how they're going to handle the monetization and the battle passes and things, knowing that the multiplayer component of this game is going to be free to play for anyone on an Xbox or a PC? Because I could see them handling it well in a way that doesn't ruin the game, but I mean, there's been games like Star Wars Battlefront 2 that also charged a full sticker price and then still did the kind of meme-worthy, terrible battle pass system, or not even, sorry, their blind box system. Do you guys have any fears about that? Do you think 343 is going to nail it, even just based on what you saw in the progression system that was in the beta? Any thoughts? Let's start with Uche this time.
So for me, with the beta, and and we're really just kind of critiquing the things we couldn't get a hold of, right? Like things we couldn't really we didn't get a chance to really experience or anything like that.
Mm-hmm.
So for me, honestly, with the monetization side of it, I just kind of, they actually give you a little taste of it because I guess they gift you some points to use to unlock stuff. And I feel like as long as it's cosmetic, then I don't, monetization is I feel like that's an open, you can do that. Like do it all the way to the top if you want, as long as it's just cosmetic. Once you get into weaponry and things that actually affect gameplay, I feel like that should be prioritized as something that's unlocked through skill. So, I wouldn't want those to be monetized. I wouldn't want those to be part of a monetization system, just purely because if it's pay to win, why the fuck play the game? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So, for me, that's the one side that I guess is still a question. Single player is a question. That's something that we didn't get a look at. I'm interested in finding out what the campaign looks like. Maybe the first, maybe a 10-minute or 15-minute preview of something like that would be nice. But for me, I think those were the two big things for me that I just, I'm still waiting to see. I have confidence in them, but still waiting to see how it plays out.
All right, Fonz, what about you? Any fears or anything you saw that seems cool, or things they could do to make you be like, yeah, this is the way to do this?
I already like the idea of how they're doing their battle passes, where it's not limited time. It's limited time to get. Actually, no, there's not limited time for any of the battle passes, right? And that's rare. Most of the people, they give you that FOMO, do it now, or else you don't get these items.
You have 10 days to unlock the Ninja Gaiden helmet.
Yeah, so it's cool that they already said that all the battle passes will be available forever or for as long as possible. And the cross progression, right? A lot of companies, for example, Blizzard did that with Diablo, where you have to, actually no, they did cross progression too, where
for Diablo 2, yeah, at least.
Yeah, you can save some money by not having to level up all your characters on each system. You can level them up together, and it carries over. So they've already done some things that are consumer focused. We'll see if it continues that way, but I can almost guarantee there's going to be an XP boost that you can buy to unlock things faster, because they're going to have to make money somewhere, right? So if that's the worst thing, an XP boost, I can live with that.
Yeah, and I think, at least from my perspective on it, I totally agree with Uche, where if it's cosmetic, if it's not going to be anything that'll affect gameplay, and not in the way that Call of Duty's microtransactions are just cosmetic, because even though Warzone, you don't necessarily know what weapons you're going to have, Call of Duty still does make it so that you can unlock weapons by buying the battle passes and unlocking things. And they might not necessarily be any better on paper, but especially with Halo, that unlike Call of Duty, that there's 50 guns in every Call of Duty game, Halo usually has around 10, 15. So one gun can become the meta gun, the gun that everyone needs to be using. And the second you make that one something that someone needed to get to level 50 of Battle Pass 4 in order to get, everyone who has not got that weapon is just going to be okay, this game sucks now. But at the same time, Uche makes a good point as well, where they've got to make money somehow, and like Fonz was saying about the XP boost, because I think that ultimately, this especially being Halo's coming out again party, or hopefully that we're hey, we've had a couple rough Halo games, but we think we've got it this time. We got Joe Staten back on track. Yeah. Then I think having it be that there's no barrier for entry to anyone with the hardware that can run the game to be yeah, hop on whatever you got and play some Halo. Because I think it's even running on Xbox One as well, so you don't even necessarily need the next-gen Xbox, just any Xbox and an internet connection, and you can play Halo. You don't even need Game Pass. I think, though, you would still need an Xbox Live Gold account, because I still don't think they've done the. Or have they done that? I might have to.
No,
have to
Xbox
look into
Live
that.
Gold is done. That's done. They already
they have?
eliminated that.
Oh, has it? I
It's
could've sworn
just
still
Game Pass now, Ultimate.
Oh, right on. Well, I mean, I've always been shilling for Game Pass because I think it's unbelievably worthwhile. But I'm a bit of a special case because for me, having access to that many games that I can capture footage of for making videos is really sweet. I understand that a lot of other people might not be in that position, but whether or not you are, you can still play Halo Infinite's multiplayer. And if you have Game Pass, you can play the campaign as well. So I understand why they would want to start pulling in extra money from that, although I think Microsoft is probably in a position where they're going to be ready to take some hits on Halo's revenue generation if it means they can get more people on to Team Xbox. Now, I don't like the idea of having a strict console team, but if you can say, hey, maybe I should spend $10 a month and get Game Pass Ultimate so that I can stream Halo Infinite to my phone and play with my friends. You're going to get rocked with the input lag. But say you can see into the future and play really well streaming it to your phone. That's an option that you actually have for this game, and I think that's pretty cool, and it's exciting to see what they do with it.
The only thing is, with all the goodwill they need, I think they're going to not go overboard. At least to start with, like they need that goodwill because of Halo 5.
Yeah.
And
and also,
I think they'll let that first season or two is going to be a slow drip into spiking up their monetization.
Yeah.
They want to get the base in there first.
Yeah, I could see that. So hopefully they do a good job at launch. That like people are just sucked in, right?
All right, so I guess we can go into our final thoughts. Fonz, I guess why don't we start with you on this one?
Yo, man, I'm just waiting for Oddball or Griffball. Like
that's deep cut.
Yo, man, that's what I want, man. Like that was such a good a match play, as well as the where you could shoot one-shot kill, like one-shot headshots, where like automatic kills. SWAT.
I hate SWAT so much.
Every time
Jeremy from Geeks and Gamers loves SWAT. And I'm always just like, just play Call of Duty, Jeremy. That's what you're trying to. You're trying to turn Halo into Call of Duty.
Because you know what, and I've realized this playing Halo is that their assisted aim is not as strong as it is with other games. Like, Destiny was probably like the worst with it, but Call of Duty as well. Like they have really good strong aim assist where Halo doesn't. So like, it's still a good game to do that for. Yeah,
I just think like when you remove the time to kill from Halo, I'm just like, well, I mean, this is just like any other game where you take 2 shots to the chest or 1 shot to the head and you die. Like, it's just I've never really been a big fan of SWAT, but I mean, you know what? That's the good thing about having multiple modes.
Yo, different folks, different strokes.
All right, Uche, how about you? What are your final thoughts?
Honestly, man, I feel like this is a big opportunity for Microsoft. I kind of fell back on Xbox consoles until the One X. And, even when I got the One X, I didn't play it that much. It wasn't a huge draw for me. I played my PS4 Pro more by far. But now, in this generation, I got a Series X. I've actually become really fond of Quick Resume. Game Pass is a game changer. I mean, there's no doubt about it. And I think that, for the first time in a long time, we got a Halo title that has a potential to have the same kind of effect for Microsoft and for the Series X as Combat Evolved had, because they've kind of returned to the roots of it. And I commend them for saying, you know what, we're not going to make the Xbox, the Series X launch. This is not coming out until it's ready. We can't let it out. This is literally the foundation of which Xbox was built on. And we can't be serious about trying to reclaim glory from Sony without this title being in the best possible shape that it can be. And if a company like CD Projekt Red had taken that kind of approach, then,
probably would be in a better
Cyberpunk
position.
2077 would have been a different situation because it probably still wouldn't have been out to this day.
Yeah, probably.
And I would have been fine with that.
Yeah.
I remember it, dude. I was like, I'll wait another year. I don't care. Just make sure it's ready when it comes out. And when they said they were delaying Halo again, I was like, that's fine. Because we had just seen what happened with CD Projekt.
Yeah.
So I was like, no. If that shit comes out in 2022, I'm cool with that too. Just make sure when it comes out, it's done. This is Halo now. This is Halo. If y'all are saying this is the new, and this is the reboot, and this is it, then don't let it come out the door unless it's fully baked and ready to be served. And that's it.
And like you made
So
you brought a
hyped.
good point. Like with Cyberpunk and just COVID in general, like if you delay a game, it's like everyone understands now. Like it's not like, oh, you guys were lazy. Like no, a world catastrophe kind of caused it. Like, it's not our fault. Which
everyone's working from home.
Yeah, and even aside from that, dude, like there are certain games that are so anticipated.
Yeah.
You don't want to let that thing come out the door unless it's ready, because we continue to see. I mean, for me, I got football 2022, which was PES.
Yeah.
I already got it because I'm like, this is PES. And I'm like, oh shit, what? What is this? This is a demo? What is this?
Yeah.
Don't get me started on now that they've announced Konami is making a new Metal Gear game, a new Castlevania game, and a new Silent Hill game. I'm just like, oh, you just made your new PES.
Often,
it was apparently really bad.
Yeah. We see this too often. This has literally become a habit of the video game industry in releasing games that are freaking half-baked. Not even half-baked anymore. It's like the cookie dough ain't even melted yet.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, can you please develop the game first before you release it? Don't develop it while we're playing the alphas.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Which, are you guys worried at all about the non-co-op campaign at launch?
Yeah, I mean, yes and no. I think that I was kind of going on my final
thoughts. Like a 10-hour campaign at the most. So I mean, I can live through that even if there's some bugs.
Maybe, but I mean, this one's supposed to be the first Halo game to have something of an open world structure, and that makes me think that maybe part of the reason why it's been difficult for them to implement co-op is that, like, can you imagine an Assassin's Creed game or Grand Theft Auto just being co-op from beginning to end and still feeling as much of a structured campaign as, like, if you were just playing it solo? Like, I mean, I don't think it's going to be that open world. I think it's probably going to be more something like Rise of the Tomb Raider, where there's big open areas and you can explore and do some side quests, but ultimately you've got one entrance and one exit. And, you know, I mean, the original Halo games had an element to that anyways, so I don't think it's impossible, but it does make me worry a bit more about what the state of the campaign is, because as much as I was really pumped about playing this, I kind of mentioned that I didn't really play any of Halo 5's multiplayer, at least not very much of it, and a big part of that was because I really hated Halo 5's story. And I think that for me, I think more so than for Halo than any other shooter franchise, if I don't like the campaign, I kind of just don't want to be anywhere near the game for some reason, which has only really happened with 5. 4 I thought was okay. I liked the story for 4, although I was actually talking to someone about this earlier today. The reason I like 4 more than most people did is because I was a giant nerd when Halo 4 came out about Halo stuff. Read a bunch of the books, and I knew who the Didact was, I knew who the Librarian was, I knew all about the Forerunners, I knew what the Composer was, I knew all that stuff. So it seemed to me like, oh, okay, I'm up to speed and I understand this story and this antagonist, where I can objectively admit that if you just went into Halo 4 cold, you'd be like, I have no idea what's going on in this game. Yeah. I don't understand the stakes. I don't understand who these enemies are. And this villain, who is this guy? Like, none of it makes any sense. Now, all of a sudden, there's this Oracle lady. What's up with that? Like, I get it. Yeah, that's true. But I also kind of liked 4, and then I got into 4's multiplayer. Kind of soured on it after a while. But I'm scared that the delay till December worries me after Cyberpunk, because I'm a person who likes Cyberpunk a lot more than most people did, but also when something gets kicked to the last month of the year, I always get kind of scared that that's a, hey, we need this thing out before the end of calendar year date, which actually recently happened with Dying Light, got kicked from December into February. So it's like, well, clearly it wasn't ready for December, and I think that they started realizing that. And I think that after playing this, aside from a couple PC optimization things, it seems like the multiplayer is ready to roll. But I don't know about the
I wouldn't
campaign.
even be mad if they released it in 2 different. I wouldn't even be mad if they just did multiplayer first,
Yeah.
and then 2-3 months later drop the campaign.
Especially
Boom,
when the multiplayer is free to play. Like, the multiplayer is kind of a different product anyways in its own way. Like, if it's like no one has to pay for Halo at all right now, play Halo all over Christmas break, but you're just going to be playing the multiplayer. And I think most Halo fans would be like, yeah, all right, get the campaign right. Like, even the people that were pumped about the campaign, they'd be like, well, if it needs more time, like, do it.
Yeah, but the multiplayer is here and we can all enjoy it. Why not?
Man, I'm telling you, it's literally like, just make sure it's ready. I think that's how fans are. I think that's consensus of fans right now.
Yeah.
For every major release, just make sure it's ready. We don't give a damn if you delay it. Just make sure it's ready.
I just spent the last 2 months playing 30-year-old Metroid games, so if a 2021 release gets pushed to 2022 or 2023, all right.
Yeah, that's fine. Just make sure
there's other video games. I guess if you guys go to geeksandgamers.com and check out us in the forums and things like that, follow me on Twitter at CyborgMark, Fonz at Cool Guy Fonz, and Uche at Chuckwoo77, spelt like that, how he has it spelt on the screen. That was actually pretty helpful. And maybe you can end up playing some Halo with us, though I warn you, we're pretty okay at it. Maybe mediocre. All right. Take it easy, everybody.